Hey everybody, how's it going? I've got something new for you today. This is the IYV ISMF-400.
It's the ISMF-200, not 400.
Today we're going to go over the out-of-box experience, how it is when it arrives to your door, if it's worth buying, and then we're going to mod it. Let's go. So here it is, the IYV ISMF-400.
What's wrong with you? Even the baby can tell you it's the 200, not the 400.
The pictures don't really show how yellow it is. It looks white in the pictures, but it's more yellow. So let's just run down, what is this guitar? Well, they claim that it's a rosewood fingerboard, and it's got your 6 Fender style, 6 on a side, or 6 on one side tuning heads. Another slight inaccuracy with the product listing page. It had some Korean characters up here. It doesn't have those on the headstock here. You've just got IYV. I cannot feel this, so I think it's a water slide. Very well applied. The headstock is glossy, but only on the front. On the sides and on the back, it's a little rough. Back of the neck is also rough. It feels a little smoother than a Squier Bullet, though, so it's somewhat finished. If we take a look here at the wood grain, you've got some pitting. It looks like rosewood. It's really hard to tell. I think it's rosewood. The nut is cut really, really well. Also, I want to say, I haven't had to make any adjustments there. The tuning machines are loose, so those will need to be tightened. I specifically have done nothing to this guitar. This even has the factory strings on it, which is something that I never do. The first thing I always do when I pick up a new guitar is change the strings, but I truly wanted to capture what the out-of-box experience was for this instrument. Moving down here, you've got some switches, and what these do, on, off. So there's no 3-way toggle switch on this guitar. On a Mustang, you had on-off phase. This is just on-off. So switching in the middle of playing is a little difficult, and it does make a popping sound when you change them. So let's say that you're playing here on the bridge, and you want to switch it to the neck. Well, you got to do that. So it has these pickup covers. They say Destiny CNC wound. I don't like that. I don't think it looks very good, but that's just me. The pickups themselves, the pole pieces are staggered, somewhat oddly in my opinion. The high E string pole is higher than the B string pole, and it must have been a design decision because they're both like that. But they are staggered. I appreciate that very much. They claim to be Alnico. If we go down to the bridge, it's a tune-o-matic Epiphone Gibson style. Does what it needs to do. Your jack is up here in the pickguard itself on the top of the guitar as opposed to being on the sides. You've got these metal knobs. You've got a pearlescent pickguard, I guess would be the word. And then down here, the tremolo system. So this is a pop-in arm. It's loose, but if you give it a little bit of force, it stays in there. And it stays where you put it, which I really like. I hate having to reach down and swing it around to use it. I like being able to hold it, right where I want it. If we pull it down, the way this works is there's a hole cut underneath this, and when you pull this, it rocks this whole piece back and forth down inside there. Looks very similar to a Fender. I almost wonder if you could replace this with a Fender, and if it would fit there. It would fit for sure. Screw holes, that's another story. And the strings just string straight in here. Let's flip it to the back. Take a look at it. So you've got one just slab there. There's a comfort cut on the top. There's your neck plate, nothing special. And then there's the back. All right. So enough of me talking about it. How does it sound and how does it play? Well, let's take it down to the amp and let's do a sound sample. Well, I've got a lot of things to say about that sound sample. Now, if you were only using your ears and not feeling the instrument, I think it sounded pretty good. The neck position sounded like a Strat, sort of, but a little different because it's slanted. The bridge position also sounded like a Strat, probably the reason being that it is in the same position as where a Strat bridge would be. The sound, I think that's pretty good. Didn't really like the way when you switch it, the loud popping sound that it makes, but that's just the design of the guitar, I think. There's really nothing, that's not really a knock against the guitar. They're trying to mimic a Mustang. So I think they did a pretty good job with that. But let's talk about how it feels. So this may not be applicable to most of you. I have a nickel allergy. I have been playing guitar for 12 years, not 12 years, wow, 18 years, almost 20 years now. And the very first time this has happened to me, playing this guitar with the strings that came on it, I noticed that my fingers were getting black. I thought that maybe the fingerboard was just dirty. But as I looked a little bit closer, it was the plating, the nickel plating of the strings was coming off while I was playing. I started to get these horrible blisters on my fingertips. And it looked like contact dermatitis from looking it up. And, you know, like when you're wearing jeans, I don't know if you may be able to relate to this, but like when you're wearing jeans and you don't have your shirt tucked in, it rubs against your stomach there, and then it leaves a nice little mark if you're allergic to nickel like I am. It was like that, but on my fingertips. And I expect it's the cheap strings that they ship the guitar with. Even if you don't have the allergy though, the strings feel absolutely horrible. I'm not going to knock the guitar itself for this problem though, because when you buy a new guitar, the very first thing you need to do is change the strings. I don't care if it's a Gibson, and I don't care if it's a Squier. It doesn't matter what the price is. Change the strings. You don't know how long it's been sitting in storage. You don't know how moist it might have gotten. You don't know if the strings might have corroded. If you want to get the best sound possible out of any instrument for any reason, before every recording, before every show, before every time that you want to get a good sound out of your guitar, if it's new, or if you're going to be recording, like I said, you want to change the strings. But that being said, change the strings immediately. They feel bad on your fingers, almost like razors. They don't feel good at all. And it left that mark on my hand. There were a couple of other things that I noticed about it. I can pick it up here and show you. So this came to me new from Amazon. Came in 2 days. But there were some things about it that just, they didn't warrant a return, in my opinion, but they were just a little concerning. So this pickup is dirty. There's like brown gunk on it. I wouldn't go so far as to say I think it was used. I just think that the quality control on an instrument this cheap, this guitar's under $150, by the way. You're gonna get that. There was also, I don't know if you could see right there, some blemishes in the paint. It wasn't packed very well. It was just in a bag with a couple pieces of styrofoam loose in the box, and it was kind of banging around like this. So that was a problem. The other problem, which goes away when it's amplified, the tremolo arm is touching the high E string. So the tremolo arm is between the two strings, but it's touching. You hear that? Buzzes a little bit because it's touching. When it's amplified, you don't hear that at all. So I thought it was going to be a major problem and I might have to return it, but it's not a major problem at all. Again, if I paid $500 for this guitar, you bet your ass it would be going back, but I didn't. This guitar was under $150. Like I said, it's not very expensive. And so those are the kind of things that I think you can live with at a guitar at this price point. However, the reason that I got this guitar, back when I got the Mustang, the very first video that I made on this channel, this guitar was actually the one that I ordered. And they sent me the wrong one. I returned it, wasn't able to reorder it because it was out of stock. That's why I ended up with the Mustang. So I always wanted to buy this guitar to mod. So what I've done is I bought 3-way switches, and I bought 2 Hot Rails single coil sized humbuckers. The plan here is to install those humbuckers and have humbucker mode off and coil split so that they're single coils for both humbuckers. So we're gonna go ahead and do that today. But before we start modding, why don't we compare it to what it was inspired by? Let me go grab the Mustang. Here they are side by side. Whoops. The Mustang and the IYV. Now, the bodies are pretty much identical. They're the same size. Let me try to get them in the frame. They have the same carve in the top. I mean, IYV clearly took the Bullet Mustang and just made their own. The IYV is a lot heavier. It weighs about as much as a Strat, which is not a bad thing. I like that. Even with the Bigsby system that I installed in this Mustang. You can tell the difference in the colors of the necks. The one in my hand, the Mustang here, is Indian Laurel. The other one claims to be Rosewood. The headstock's a bit bigger on the Squier as well. That's just the design. And the fretboard radius feels a little bit wider, or flatter, I should say, on the IYV. It feels bigger than 12. It feels like it's about 14. It wouldn't be fair to compare them as they are because I've heavily modified this Mustang. So let's go ahead and get the IYV under the knife and let's start modding it. And then at the end, we will do a sound comparison between the stock IYV, the modded IYV, and the Mustang. Now it's time for the main event. We are going to take the strings off and we are going to take off the pickguard, see what it looks like in there. I watched several videos on this instrument and there were a few that showed the cavity, but none that showed it super well. It's not a blow to the videos or the channels that did this, but I want to show you because it would have been helpful for me when I was trying to plan this mod to see what it looked like inside there a little bit better. So let's grab our pliers, or wire cutters I should say. Now let's just use pliers. And we're going to take the strings off now. And good riddance to the strings because they are very painful. I saw some claims on Amazon reviews that they were using Diodario strings. Somebody was like, oh, they sent me a guitar with Diodario, so I just left the strings on there. I didn't get so lucky. But honestly, I would have changed them anyway. Like I said before, I don't care what the guitar comes with. Do yourself a favor. Change your strings. Change them more often than you think. If you can't remember the last time you changed the strings on your guitar, I recommend changing them. And especially with these import guitars, you definitely want to change those. I don't know. I think it's just nickel plating. You know those strings on Amazon you can buy that are no name brand? That's probably what these are. Probably nothing that we've ever heard of. Come on, there's one. Sounds funny. All right, let's pull all these out. I hope I never have to touch these strings again after this because that blister does not feel very good. All right. Now, you cannot see the headstock. Let's zoom out. No, you can't zoom out. Sorry about this. This is a new tripod. I'm just getting the hang of it. Okay. Well, that's interesting. The nut isn't glued in. It's just, look at that. Came out. Have to glue that in, probably. It's probably not the end of the world. I mean, it's better to have a nut that falls out than a nut that's glued in properly. But I don't, that doesn't give me a very good feeling that the nut just fell out like that. Okay, strings are gone. the nut, it's loose in there. Look at that. All right, well, we're probably going to be gluing that. Okay, let's grab a screwdriver and take a look inside this cavity and see what secrets it has hiding for us. All right, I've got my screwdriver here. Now I just need to get a Phillips. Here we go. Okay. All right, we got all the screws out, so let's see what we got going on in here. Flip it over. All right, so here we go. We've got a swimming pool cavity. It looks like they painted it inside with shielding paint, which is a very nice touch. It looks like there's some copper tape in there. I'm not sure what that's for. Oh, for the ground. They grounded it. They grounded it with the piece of copper tape. I've never seen that before. Let's look at the pickguard now. So there's no ceramic magnets on the bottom of those pickups. So that's definitely Alnico. Very nice. Look at the switches. See how they're wired there. Mini pots. Let's see. I think it's 500K. Mini pots. There's a cap there. There's your input jack. Okay. Trying to give you a nice long gut shot look of this. So you could replace this pickguard with something and put full-size humbuckers in there. You could put a third pickup in there. I mean, there's room. Very, very cool. Okay, well, let's clean off that fingerboard. This is always very telling because when you clean a fingerboard, sometimes you get a ton of residue, like it turns black. So we're gonna use a white cloth here. And the reason that happens is because it's just stained this color. I doubt the wood is actually this color, but let's see what we got going on here. So we're gonna apply some to the cloth directly. I'm gonna just clean this. Let's see what we got. Hey, look at that. Nothing came up at all. Color me surprised. I fully expected to see this staining come up, but look at that, it didn't. When I do those bullets, it comes up like crazy. Like it turns the whole cloth brown. I'm very, very, very impressed right now. Now, it being black, I would assume is just dirt. But if it's not brown, then it's not the stain. Yeah, see that? It's not the stain, it's just dirt. Factory, storage, shipping. That's to be expected. One thing I want to say also is the fret ends are not very sharp on this instrument. I will say it's probably the best neck that I have ever played at this price point. As you can see, it's getting even dirtier the further we go down. So I wonder if that's like the metal of the fret wire, from whatever process they use to install or make the fret wire. But again, it's not the color of the wood. It's a darker color, the color of grime and dirt. I don't suspect that this was a used instrument. I mentioned the blemishes that I found, but I don't suspect that it was used. I think it was just, it fell through the cracks at quality control a little bit. All right. Very good. Let's go ahead and give it a quick wipe down here on the dry side. And it just soaked that up. It's so smooth. So smooth. Love it. Okay. Now that that's done, let's open up these pickups and see what we got going on. I lied. Before we do that, let's go ahead and tighten these tuning heads. It's one of the #1 causes of your tuning problems is loose. That's a tri-wing. Why do I have a tri-wing? Loose tuning machines. Because if the tuning machines are loose, they'll turn on their own when pressure is applied from the strings, whether you're playing it or bending or whatever you're doing while you're playing. These are incredibly loose. Not a deal killer, but noticeable. We don't want to over tighten them because we don't want to make it too difficult to turn them. But you do want to tighten them, you know, a bit. And they're still a little loose, but they're a lot better than they were. Yeah. The other thing that you want to check is how tight the heads are in the actual headstock, these nuts here. And you know what? You see that? That one moved just by me touching it. I don't think my ratchet is up here though, so I'll just do that off camera. You don't need to see that. So here it is. This is the pickup. It's a Hot Rails. Look at the wiring here. Specifically, I got the one that has the wiring to do coil splitting. It's going to be fun figuring out which is which on these, because from what I understand, it's not standard wiring. So there's that, and it came with some springs and screws in the box. And here's the switches. Got a bag of them. You've got, there you go. It's not focusing very well because of the light behind, but yeah, got a pack of these too. If we come over here and take a look, focus. Yeah, it looks like it'll fit, doesn't it? Looks like the screws are the same length. Looks like it's roughly the same width. It's actually a little skinnier. I think those will work great. And then this pickup would go right here. All right. Let's go ahead and take these pickups out. Looks like they've twisty tied these together. I appreciate that more than a zip tie. Makes it easier to work on. All right. So it looks like white is hot. Let's cut that off. Okay. Black is ground, always ground. Let's get those off too. Make sure we're not cutting anything we don't need to cut though. Okay. And come on. There we go. Okay, so this pickup is free. This one is also free, except I need to cut the hot off, which is yellow. Let's cut that off. All right. So those pickups are free. Let's unscrew them now. Really hope this is showing on camera. Can't exactly get over there and look, so I apologize if you can't see this. I left the protective film on the pickguard on purpose in case I slip and scratch with the screwdriver or something. I can pull that off when I'm all done. All right, I think that does it. That pickup is out. And let's, wow, interesting note here. So the screws are like too big for the pickguard. So they've actually just threaded the screws through the pickguard. They just stay like that. That's super interesting. Okay, let's do the other one now. Grab these springs so we don't lose them. Okay, almost free. That's just about free. Do the other one now. Very interesting. They just screwed through a hole that was too small. So I'm gonna guess that these pick guards were made for like bullet Mustangs or something, and then they just screwed them in. Okay, that pickup is out. All right, let's take a peek under the cover if we can get it off. Let me find my. There you go. Grab these. Okay. So we have a little bit of an issue. We can solve this issue, but this pickup doesn't fit in this hole. It's just ever so slightly too long. It's very hard to capture it on camera, but essentially what's happening is that these corners right here where my fingers are, a little too fat. So we're just going to need to lightly trim the pickguard to get them to fit. Before we get to trimming it, I wanted to show you the radius of the neck. So, looks like it's 14. So it is flatter than 12, which is great. I really like that. I have a fret filer. I think this will work to do something about this. So here goes nothing, I guess. I'm gonna take this, and by the way, I'm not a professional. I make these videos because not only is it to show you how to do something, also sometimes how not to do something. This was the first thing that I thought to do, so we're gonna try it. And if it's a failure, you know not to do it. And I'll tell you if it gets my endorsement when we finish. So let's go ahead and it's working. Let's see if that was enough. I could see some of the plastic coming up when I did that, so that's good. Let's see if that did it. Not quite. Close, but no cigar. Needs a little bit more than that. What I really need to do is get this rounded corner to be flat. We have success. So basically I had to trim almost a rectangle shape to get it to all work. But it's in there. So pull it out and show you what I did. Oh, now it won't come out. There we go. See? Let's get the springs in there. And let's put the pickup in there. I hate working with these springs. They're so difficult. Very, very annoying. I usually use those little fender rubber pieces instead, but that's okay. Really just want to get it in there with the springs so that I can screw it in. There we go. Well, here goes nothing. We're going to try and screw them in now. I have no clue if this is going to work. I think these screws might be too thick for these pickups. Like if I could get them to widen the hole a little bit, then well, the moral of the story is just use the damn screws it came with, because now it's in. All right, I got the other humbucker in, so let's get the screws and get it screwed in.
I'm editing this video here with my baby on my chest. I wanted to mention that I decided not to do the three-way switch simply because the wiring was so complicated and I wasn't really sure which wires were for what on those pickups because the documentation it came with just wasn't very good. So I went ahead and just wired everything directly to the two-way switch, so it's still just an on-off switch.
Oh, we got it all soldered up. And now it's time for the tap test to see if all the pickups work. So let's turn on the amp. Isn't fit for playing, but it's fit for testing. Okay, that one's good. Perfect. I think it's ready to be reassembled. Go ahead and get it screwed back together now. There we go. Now before we go any further, let's make sure that it still works. Had that happen before too. We're jostling around the wires, causes a problem, and then it doesn't work when you put it back together. Yeah, great. Still good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this off and then we will string it. You may not agree with this decision, but I took these knobs off. These I want to install in their place. So these came from a guitar I inherited from my aunt when she passed away, and I didn't really know what to use them for. I think they'd be perfect right there like that. I think it'll give it a nice look. Before I pop them down though, let's take the plastic off of the pickguard. Let's see if we can find where it starts. Here it is. Probably should have done this while I had it off. Oh, there's like 2 layers of plastic. Interesting. Isn't that satisfying? Well, I guess I'll need to take the the jack all the way off the guitar to get all of it. But let's see. That's gonna bother me. I don't think I have my wrench out here where I could get that off. Let's see. I have a wrench right here. don't know if it's the right size, but nope. It's probably not super tight though. I could probably just use one of these and just turn it by hand. Yep. I don't want to take it all the way off though, because then it'll fall back inside and I'll have to take the pick guard off again. There we go. You don't need tools when you can use your muscles. All right, so now I got the plastic off. Let's go ahead and put the knobs on. Oh, I think that's awesome. I really like the way that looks. It's like a whole new instrument now. Okay, let's string it up. I've got some. Let me adjust the camera. We're going to be using those Fender 10s. You know what I like to use. So, fortunately, well, you know what? That angle will work just fine. Let me go get them. You know what? Those are stainless steel. I'd like to use these. Classic core vintage nickel bullets. Bullets are my favorites. But they don't sell them in my local shop. They only sell those up there. So, stainless steel are okay. They sound a little bit more aggressive, which I think would sound amazing with these hot rails, but can't go wrong. These are my very favorite strings right here, these Fender bullets. So, let's do it. You never want to tune it laying like this. You always want to tune it holding it properly, and it's because the neck flexes. Okay, it's in tune. So let's take a look at the pickup height. This could stand to be raised a little bit. They both could, really. Now, I've heard that these particular pickups are very hot. So I probably don't want to raise them too much. That should do it. I mean, this one might be good as it is, but you can always adjust it. Touching? Let's see. There's some pinging going on, so I think this is too high. Perfect. Okay. Let me pick it up and strum a few chords so you can see how it sounds acoustically. It sounds great. Now, some of that stuff that you're hearing, that buzzing and ringing, I think that's just the way the tailpiece is designed here. Some of it is this trim arm, and you don't hear it when it's amplified. I think that looks awesome. I have to stop the camera to zoom it out, so I'm gonna zoom it out and show you what I see, because damn, it looks good. Check it out. That looks awesome. I'm glad I got the black ones, and I think that those knobs look really good too. That looks so good. I cannot wait to plug this in. Let's take it down to the basement and plug it in. Apologies in advance. I can't exactly talk about it as I play it because I'm going to be giving you the raw signal from the amp as opposed to like doing it over the air through the speakers, so I can't stop and then talk to you. So I'll also talk to you after the sound demo. One more thing. If you're going to review or play a Mustang style instrument, you gotta have the shades. So now that we've got that sound sample out of the way, let's go ahead and compare stock, mod, and the Mustang back to back to back. There you go. I think that these pickups are really amazing for the price. I think they were $12 a piece. Absolutely amazing deal. The sound that I'm getting from them is just great. It cuts through a mix really well, as we'll demonstrate in the outro here. I love the way they look. I really like these black knobs. I think I've really made this thing my own. My final thoughts on it, I mean, as it came out of the box, if you change the strings, I can wholeheartedly recommend this instrument over any Bullet Squier, over a Les Paul Special or a SG Special or whatever that low tier Epiphone is. This is, in my opinion, the very best guitar that you can buy at this price. $150 or less. For what you're getting, I mean, this tremolo system is great. The tuners are fine. Just change the strings. It's better than the Bullet Mustang in my opinion. I think it sounds better. Now those pickups that you heard in that sample, those are stock. Obviously I made a whole bunch of modifications to it, but this is the real deal. I really like the way that it looks, and I really like the way that it sounds. I like the way that it feels now that I've cleaned the fingerboard and put new strings on it. But I really like this instrument, and I definitely recommend it to everybody. I kept saying, but, one thing is, while we were going over this instrument. And I almost didn't recommend it, because those things add up. But at the end of the day, if you take all of the worst things about it and line it up against all the best things about it, I mean, you change the strings, even with the single coil pickups, it's an amazing instrument. Even if you don't know how to mod a guitar, don't want to mod it, want to just get it out of the box and play it, go ahead and pick it up. If you know how to mod a guitar and want to mod a guitar, this is a great one to do it too. So in the outro here, I'm going to go ahead and play this over a backing track, just so you can hear how it sounds in a mix. Thank you very, very much for watching. I know this was a longer one. Please subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks again, and have a good rest of your day. Now let's roll the track.